Let's talk about naming tricks. Let's talk about trick names. Very important thing that exists. Always useful to have a common language for jugglers to know and use. Having trick names gives jugglers something to type into YouTube when they're looking for tutorials. It's a thing. Very useful that it exists. But I want to talk about trick names specifically today because I had an idea. I've been thinking about this idea of giving credit to the originators or the discoverers of certain tricks, and the concept of taking someone's trick and building off of it in a way that is not harmful or doesn't take away from the originators juggling. Like I said, I would not be the juggler that I am today without learning other people's tricks and finding my own voice and style within those tricks, and then building my own tricks from the little scraps and bits and pieces from those tricks. That is how I got to where I am today, and that is how I think of a lot of jugglers also juggle and practice these days. And I would like to be able to do that in a way that isn't, stealing. It's not taking anything away from from any other juggler. But as we talked about, taking tricks can be problematic. It can cause issues when it comes to your financial stability and so on and so forth. So today I want to talk about naming tricks, and specifically I want to talk about trick names that were named after someone. Like Mills Mess, Bramson Rolls, Burke's Barrage, Alberts. Alberts is an example. And for me, when I hear these names, when people mention these trick names, I love those little things. Possible dream job? I don't know, maybe. Goodbye. What an icon. Where was I? What was I saying? Oh yeah, trick names, naming tricks. Mills Mess, Burke's Barrage, Alberts. When I think of these tricks, when people mention these tricks, I immediately think of the juggler that their name is attached to those tricks. Except for Burke's Barrage. I don't know who Burke is. I know people have been straying away from the term Mills Mess, and Jason Garfield has infamously been trying to change Alberts to crotch throws, which, okay, fine. But I don't know. Lately I've realized that I don't think people name tricks after themselves anymore, or really name tricks at all. And I don't know if this is a factual statement, but I don't think these people who name these tricks name them after themselves. I think that they started doing these tricks, popularized them. Other people recognized that they were the originators of those tricks, and then named them after those people. If that is what happened, that makes sense. Personally, it seems kind of weird to be like, this trick is called Kellin's Cascade. Like, what? Big ego situation there. But it might be necessary. We'll get into that. So the thing that I'm trying to say is, do you think that if a trick is named after the juggler who popularized it, does that fix some of the problems? Does that make taking that trick and using it less problematic if you say, oh, this is so-and-so's trick? It's named after this person. And I say popularized because in most of these cases, they did not invent the trick. They're just the ones that did it the most often or did it the best. But yeah, does naming tricks after people give them enough credit? Or does naming a trick after someone, like naming a trick, just naming a trick, does that make it more likely that somebody else will take the trick and build on it, and eventually it will diminish the importance of the originator's discovery? That's kind of my question. Also speaking of which, when is a good time to name a trick? Do you do it immediately after discovery? Like you do the trick and catch it and you go, oh, I will name this trick in the name of me, kind of thing. Is that a thing? Or is it when you post it, you put a caption saying this is the name of the trick? Or do you have to do it and it like builds some traction and people see it as a trick that you do and somebody else has to name it for you and has to name it after you? Is that how it works? I know for a fact, or I know almost for a fact, I'm not quite sure. I almost know for a fact that there's plenty of tricks out there that people have invented, discovered, that are not named after the juggler that invented, discovered them, and are so deep in the collective public vocabulary of juggling that no one has any idea who invented them. No one has any idea where they came from. Did you know that Wes Peden invented shoulder flops? What about shoulder pads? He did that one too. I'm actually not entirely sure about that, but I think it's true. I remember seeing him do it before anyone else, and now it's a trick that like many people build their entire vocabulary around. I'm not saying that they should be called like Wes flops or Peden pads, cause in Wes's situation, he's come up with so many influential tricks that have captivated the entire juggling community. There would be way too many tricks named after him. It would get way too confusing. Half the tricks we do would be called Wes something, and that would probably get very confusing very fast. It makes me think, you know, it must have been easier back when people invented one trick. But yeah, that's the question. What do you think? Is naming a trick after someone help the problem? Does that like take away from the drama that could be doing someone else's trick? And if this trick is named after someone, everybody knows it's named after that person. If you change the variation on it, if you add something to it, is that a new trick that you now have to call it something based off of your name? Or do you still need to like reference the original trick's name? I don't know. That's my question. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you think.